Hey G-Fans, GojiFan93 here, and welcome to another top 10 list, also being my 15,000 subscriber video celebration special, whatever you want to call it. Just all I gotta say is thank you guys so much for all the support, all the subs, it's just amazing, you know, I'm blown away with how much support you guys give, and I'm honored, humbled, and it just makes doing this so much better. So without you guys, I would not be doing this. So without further ado, I'm going to begin the top 10 list. Well, actually, this isn't a top 10 list. This is actually my top 30 Godzilla films. Now, I'm going to set some ground rules here first, okay? First off, this is my opinion. This is completely my opinion. This is not a end-all, be-all. This is the most best list ever, whatever you want to say. I know that was grammatically incorrect. But this is my opinion. These are my thoughts on the films and all that stuff, okay? The second thing is, just before we go into the list, I am a Heisei fan. My favorite series is the Heisei series. So, you can pretty much predict that most of, in the top, I would say the top 5, top 10 movies of this top 30 list will mostly be Heisei films, okay? Just to let you know, alright? There's a lot of Showa fans out there, there's a lot of Heisei fans, there's a lot of Millennium fans, okay? Every list is going to be different, alright? And this is just my opinion, my list. Alright? So, without further ado, let's begin. Alright, so to start off, number 30, I gotta go with my least favorite Godzilla film out of the whole franchise, Godzilla's Revenge. Yes, Godzilla's Revenge to me is the worst Godzilla film. It's just completely devoid of any, I mean, you can get some enjoyment out of it, but I'm looking at these films in a very, I'm not looking at them in a nostalgic way. I'm looking at them very objectively, and Godzilla's Revenge to me is the worst film. Basically because the whole film is just a compilation of previous films with a little bit of new monsters. Well, the only new monster is Gabbro, which no one really likes, you know, and just the kid is really annoying. The story doesn't, it's just a bully message movie. But overall, it's just bleh. Alright, at 29, I'm going to go with Godzilla 1998. Now, you're probably wondering, well, in your last, a super long time ago, when I did my top 5 least favorite Godzilla films, Godzilla 1998 was actually the #1 spot. Well, I've grown up, I've matured a bit from that, and I've understood that Godzilla 1998, even though it was a big flop, I found a little bit of entertainment from it just because I looked at it as not that being Godzilla. That's not Godzilla, that's Zilla. But because this is Godzilla's top 30 films, Godzilla 1998 is 29 because if you are looking at it as a Godzilla film, it is complete garbage. It lacks everything that Godzilla's about. He gets killed by missiles, he runs away from the military, he doesn't have atomic breath. Everything about it is wrong. So that's why it's at number 29. Alright, 28, we're gonna go with Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster, or Ibera, the Horror of the Deep. This film I just found completely boring. I the monster himself, Ibra, I don't care about. The Godzilla suit I didn't really like also. The suit was just kind of derpy looking, it just didn't look good. And I just found the story boring. I mean, it just wasn't entertaining, it didn't really do anything for me. So that's really all I gotta say for Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. Alright, at 27, Son of Godzilla. Now, this movie kind of has the fan base split from, you know, they either really like it or they really hate it. I'm on the side where I really don't like it. The only thing I really like about the film is the music. The music's memorable. In fact, every Godzilla movie, including Godzilla's Revenge, I actually do enjoy the music. But the content in it, I really don't care for. The story's just blah. I got bored of it. I don't like Minya. I've never liked Minya. I think he's just a terrible looking monster. It doesn't look anything like Godzilla. Yeah, the movie just did not do it for me. So, yep. Alright, at 26, Godzilla Raids Again. Now, this was the second Godzilla movie in the whole franchise. This one was also in black and white. And, you know, I would have liked it more if they would have kept it more traditional, if they would have kept it, had the same, tone as in the first film, but they kind of went, Godzilla fought his first enemy, which was Anguirus, but the battles were like very cheesy looking. They didn't slow down the footage. There was something like they had I guess when they were making the film, they had like a problem while they were filming it. They were gonna slow it down, but something happened with the film and it looked like it sped up or whatever. I don't know the whole story. But it just looked goofy. So when Godzilla was fighting Anguirus, it just looked like a bunch of puppets just, just going around. It was kind of silly, but overall the movie just didn't do it for me. Alright, at 25, Godzilla vs. Megalon. Now this film, if I was working off of nostalgia and I was working off of childhood memories, I really do like this movie because when I was a little kid, I watched this movie all the time. But looking at it objectively, oh yeah, it's not one of the best Godzilla films, but I still can find a little bit of enjoyment of it just because I do like Megalon. I do think Megalon is a very awesome monster, and I feel like he needs to have a return. Alright, 24, we have Terror of Mechagodzilla. Now, I know a lot of people like this film. The music is great. It's from Akira Ifukube. Mechagodzilla 74 is a really, probably one of the most popular Mechagodzilla incarnations of the fan base. But for me, one, I didn't like Titanosaurus. I didn't really feel like he was a cool monster. I know a lot of you guys do, and that's fine. That's completely fine. Like I said, this is my opinion. But it didn't have the fun for me like it did with the first film, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, and you guys will see where that will rank up. But overall, it wasn't completely bad. So, it just was kind of meh for me. Alright, 23. Now I'm going to get a lot of Showa fans to hate me at this part. I'm going to say Destroy All Monsters. Yes, Godzilla Destroy All Monsters is at 23. It's not in the top 10, which a lot of Showa fans, love Destroy All Monsters. They praise it for one of the best Godzilla movies ever. Now, me on the other hand, I missed it. I'm not, I wasn't a Showa, I didn't grow up in the Showa era. I grew up in the Heisei era, hence the fact that I'm a Heisei fan. But when I watched Destroy All Monsters, there's not a lot of monster fights in it. There's not a lot of monster scenes. For a movie that's boasting about, oh, you can see all these monsters, there's not a lot in it. You get a couple military action scenes, and then you get the final battle. Now, the final battle, though, on the other hand, that's where the movie gets really good, okay? You see all the monsters on one scene. I mean, that was awesome. The way they choreographed it, it was awesome. But the first half of the film, well, most of the film, it's a lot of just soldiers and scientific people talking, and it's just kind of boring. So, Destroy All Monsters, it's not as epic as a lot of people would say, at least in my opinion. Alright, at 22, once again, a lot of Showa fans are going to hate me for this, but Mothra vs. Godzilla. This is mostly because of Mothra herself. I'm not a huge Mothra fan. Even though I saw the Rebirth of Mothra series, I got a little bit more respect for Mothra, but the rest of the film is fine, but just because Mothra's the enemy, and because the Mothra larva basically took out Godzilla, makes no sense to me. I don't understand how Godzilla can take out all these other monsters that he previously did, yet all of a sudden two little turrets can just run up and web him up and make him fall off a cliff. That doesn't make any sense to me. But the Godzilla suit, awesome. Probably one of his most ferocious designs. I have an X Plus figure of him. I love the suit. It's awesome. But Mothra, she's not my favorite kaiju, and that's why this movie's kind of on the top of the list. Alright, at 21, Godzilla vs. Hedorah. Now, what's weird about this film is it's one of those Godzilla films that you just look at it and you're just like, what am I watching? It's a really weird film. And for me, I like the film. I like Hedorah. I think Hedorah's a pretty cool monster. But it's such a trip watching this movie. You feel like you're on acid, which probably Toho was on acid doing drugs because it was the 70s when they were making this film. And there's just a lot of weird things that go into this movie. But also the music's not really that memorable. But overall, it's not that bad of a film, but it's still on the high part of my list. Alright, number 20 is going to be Godzilla vs. Gigan. Now, once again, this kind of has the same thing for me when it came to Godzilla vs. Megalon. I watched this movie a lot when I was a kid, but now that I've grown up and I'm watching these movies a little bit more objectively, Godzilla vs. Gigan is definitely not one of the best, hence the fact that it's on the top side of this list. But I love it because it has King Ghidorah in it, and it has Gigan. Gigan's one of my all-time favorite monsters of Godzilla, and Godzilla's with Anguirus. It's a tag team battle with them. Mostly, I mean, I watched this film mostly for the fight scenes. The human scenes are forgettable. Like the freaking aliens are cockroaches. It's really weird. It's still in the 70s. This was 1972 when it came out. But mostly this movie's the price of admission is worth it just for the fight scene at the end. That's where the movie really kicks ass. Alright, at number 19, this is actually a little bit of a surprise. This is actually Godzilla vs. Mothra Battle for Earth from the Heisei series. Now, this is actually the only Heisei film that is my least favorite film in the series. One, because because Mothra, I'm sorry, but it's like Mothra is the main opponent in this, but the thing that makes this movie great is Batra. I swear, that is the only thing that saves this movie for me, is Batra. If Batra wasn't in it, this movie would be way higher on the list. Or it'd be more lower, I guess, if you want to say. But Batra just makes the movie. Just the design, even when he turns into the moth form, he's still awesome looking, and his theme song is just, it's one of the best themes in the Heisei series, and I got to hear it live at the Akira Fukube concert at G-Fest, and oh my god, it was amazing. So, but still, my least favorite Heisei film, hence the fact that it is number 19. Alright, number 18, we have Invasion of the Astro Monster. Now, this film, you know, I was so stupid when I first started this channel. I basically said in my top least favorite Godzilla films, I put this film in that list, and I said that it was basically the same thing as Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. It's not. It actually has a completely different storyline. Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster didn't have, like, it didn't have the same things that Invasion. It had a completely different storyline, but it still didn't do much for me. Once again, the fight scene is the best part of the movie. The humans I just don't really care for. The music's really good, but it's really just the monster scenes that I like watching. But other than that, it was just, alright. Alright, number 17, we have Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. So it's a little bit above, just because there's more monsters. Mothra's in it, which is kind of ironic because I don't really like Mothra that much, but just the way that this film was done, I felt was a little bit better than Invasion of the Astro Monster. It had a little bit more of a serious tone to it, and it just didn't seem like... It was just awesome. I mean, and this was when Ghidorah was first introduced, or Ghidra, however you want to pronounce him. And just this awesome beast that Godzilla has to team up with Rodan and Mothra to kill him. It's just like, oh, it's so good. So that's why it is number 18. Alright, at number 16, now we're getting into some Millennium movies. We have Godzilla Tokyo SOS. Now, when I was little, I actually really liked this film, but now when I'm watching it again, it's actually not as entertaining as I thought it was. It lacks fun. This movie doesn't have the fun factor in it, especially in the last battle. The final battle was pretty boring, but the one thing that saves it is actually the characters. Ironically, I actually like the character scenes more than I do the actual fight scenes in this Godzilla movie. I love the characters, I love the Kiryu storyline, I guess is what I want to say. And the music was just awesome, and also it is the best looking Godzilla film, because this was the film before Final Wars came out, but Final Wars kind of had a lower, it just looked less good than Tokyo SOS, and I don't even know if that was grammatically correct, but still, Tokyo SOS, I really like the story, and the production values were really good. Alright, number 15, we have Godzilla vs. Megaguirus. Now, this film's a little bit higher because the fight scene was really awesome. I don't necessarily like Megaguirus, and I think I just have a problem with flying monsters. I think that's my issue. I think I just don't necessarily like flying monsters. I kind of just, I don't know, I like monsters that are on the ground, and they can get, in like a good fight, but Megaguirus I didn't really like, but once again, the characters, the story, it's kind of an underrated Godzilla film. And also the music was, basically, I don't remember the composer, but I know it starts with an M. She basically made the new, sound for Godzilla in the Millennium series. She's basically she's just as good, I mean just a little bit under, but she's just up there with Akira Fukube with making memorable themes. And also this film's fun, it's just a fun film. Alright, at number 14 we have Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. Now this film, this is one of the most awesome Godzilla films when he fights Mechagodzilla. This also introduced King Caesar in it, and this film I find more entertaining than Terror Mechagodzilla, just because Mechagodzilla 74 just has more of a presence in it. He's more of a driving force in this, because in Terror Mechagodzilla he kind of took a step back and let Titanosaurus do all the work. But this one was really awesome. He beat the crap out of Godzilla also. I mean, there was just... Godzilla he got wrecked. Blood everywhere on him, but, you know, he eventually defeats him. But also the story I find really awesome, and, yeah, there's really nothing else I can say. It's just one of the finest Godzilla movies where he fights Mechagodzilla. Alright, so number 13 we have Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. Now this is the Mechagodzilla movie that was in the Heisei series, and this movie came out in 1993 when I was born, hence the fact I'm GojiFan93. So, you think that this film would be a little bit higher on the list because of, you know, the fact that of my birthday and all that stuff, but it's just a very, it's a tame Godzilla film. The fight scenes weren't really that interesting. Mechagodzilla 2, I know Plutonium-2356 is going to hate me for this, but Mechagodzilla 2 to me is the most boring Mechagodzilla there is. There's no emotion in the face, there's no character. Like, the Mechagodzilla 74 and Kiryu had character with them. Like, Mechagodzilla 74 was completely evil, and Kiryu just had the way the suit was made, just the design of him, just made him look like he had personality. Mechagodzilla 2, on the other hand, just, you know, he didn't really have a look on him. And the fight scene was just kind of a standoff where they were just shooting beams at each other. There wasn't a lot of times where they would get close in and just, you know, start pounding on each other. So, also Rodan was thrown in for some freaking reason. I don't know. Something about Godzilla and Rodan being like half brothers, and then little Godzilla gets introduced. There's a lot of things that happen in this film, and it's just kind of like, okay, slow down. but still, it's an alright film. The characters are alright as well, but that's why it's on 13. Alright, number 12, we have Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. Now, you would kind of wonder why this isn't higher on the list, because Space Godzilla is my favorite kaiju besides Godzilla. Or at least my favorite Godzilla enemy or whatever. I love Space Godzilla, everything about him. He's a classic villain. He freaking comes down to Earth, kidnaps Godzilla's son, kicks Godzilla's ass, goes to the city, makes his fortress of crystals, and this guy's just like, ugh! And he literally has to, like, he has to have Mogira and Godzilla team up to go against him, and it's just like, oh, it's the whole final scene was awesome. The only thing that I didn't really necessarily care for was the characters, the story. The only character I really liked was Yuki, just because he had the funniest personality out of them all. He was kind of like the rebel, and he didn't want to follow orders, but I liked him the most. But other than that, the story was just kind of like, you know, kind of droned on and on, but it was still a really fun film. Alright, at 11 we got Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. Now, this film, I feel, is the best, I don't want to say Mechagodzilla film, but it's definitely the best film out of the two Kiryu films, just because the story was better, the characters were way better. You had the pilot that was the female. It was awesome. I love female protagonists. I don't know why. I just love seeing a female that doesn't take shit from anybody. She's just like, no, I can do this. I'm a pilot. You know, I love that. And then Kiryu there was just more action in this one. And also, the reason why I really like this film is because it's the only Godzilla film where Godzilla fights Mechagodzilla without any other monsters interrupting this fight. It's just Godzilla and Kiryu, just, there we go. And just the fight scene was just more action-packed. There was more close-up moments where they were boxing each other out, and I just thought it was way more entertaining than Tokyo SOS, so, yep. Alright, at number 10, so now we're getting into the top 10 of my Godzilla films. Now obviously, right here I'm going to say, my opinions have changed over the past, since I did my last top 10 list. So obviously, a lot of my opinions are going to change, and some of my opinions on these movies will change from this video. So probably in the future, there'll be another one where I'll have a completely different opinion. But, this is the top 10 part of the list. And also all these films, I love all these films, okay? I'm not really dissing any of these films except for like the top 2 or 5, or you know, the first 5 ones that I really actually don't like, but overall I love all these films. So when we get down to these top 10, these are the ones that I really like, okay? So, top 10, number 10, we have Godzilla 2014. Oh yeah, the new film that just came out. Now, at first, this film was actually going to be top 5, but after really thinking about it, the film was alright. It was amazing, and it was so authentic and respectful to the Japanese and what Godzilla represents. The one thing, though, that I actually really think about now is, the trailers and the marketing kind of lied to us. We thought Godzilla was going to be this big bad guy, this terror, this horrific monster, Bryan Cranston's sitting there, you don't know what's coming, and blah blah blah. But when we watched the film, it actually turned out to be the Muto creatures, and then Godzilla comes up, and he's just kind of a side story. It really is. That's the one thing about this film that kind of bugs me, is that Godzilla actually felt like a side story, a side plot, compared to the Mutos. But still, it was still a great film, hence the fact that it's on my top 10 list, and also the fact that this film brought Godzilla back into the light, and Godzilla's popular again, and Godzilla's booming again, so it's awesome. Alright, at number 9, we have King Kong vs. Godzilla. This film is awesome. There's really not... I love it. The story, the characters, the setup, it's so goofy, it's so cheesy, it's like, how can this even happen? King Kong is not the same size as Godzilla, but Japan's like, fuck that, we're gonna make King Kong the same size as Godzilla, we're gonna have these two titans face off. It's like America versus Japan. Let's go. It's just... I love this film. The fight scenes are awesome, the comedy's awesome in it, everything about this film is just so funny. I love it. There's really nothing I hate about it. And the music is, it's just awesome. So, also, Toho, by the ways, can you please release this on Blu-ray with the Japanese version? Thank you. Alright, number 8, we have Godzilla vs. Destroyer, or Destroyer, as AVGN says. Godzilla vs. Destroyer is obviously one of the most epic Godzilla films. It's the finale of the Heisei series. Godzilla's burning up, Godzilla's gonna die. Everyone knows the story to this movie. If you haven't seen it, my god, what's wrong with you? This film is... I don't think I've seen any Godzilla fan who really doesn't like this film. The only thing that I've caught a lot of fire for or whatever is Destroyer himself. Now, Destroyer's a cool monster, don't get me wrong. Destroyer's awesome, he's big, terrifying, he looks like the devil, he's really cool. But the one thing is that when I did my top toughest enemies list, I said that he wasn't tough. I've kept on defending my statement that Destroyer's not a tough monster. Will that change? It might in my next top 10 list of the top 5 toughest enemies, but we'll just have to see. But overall, this movie is definitely amazing. Alright, at my 7th spot, we have Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah from the Heisei series, 1991. This film is just awesome as well. It's just Godzilla goodness. You have just an awesome Godzilla suit, an awesome Godzilla roar. He returns to fight King Ghidorah. King Ghidorah's in his Heisei design, which I think is probably one of the best designs of King Ghidorah. It's just like... This film is so good. The storyline's pretty interesting, although it can be very confusing when you really think about it. You're like, does this film fit in the continuity with the other Heisei films? Or like, what is going on here? It gets really confusing, but nonetheless, it is a fantastic Godzilla film. Definitely a classic. Alright, at number 6, we have Godzilla 2000. This film is really awesome, and I have a lot of memories with this film because I saw this film in theaters when it came out, and I was blown away because, we just saw Godzilla 1998, and I was still kind of young, so I didn't really hate 1998, or I wasn't, on the bandwagon of, oh, terrible, but after seeing Godzilla 2000, I was like, okay, this is Godzilla. This is what it is. Sadly, it didn't do well in the box office, but still, Godzilla 2000, Godzilla's awesome. Orga is one of the most awesome original monsters in the Millennium series. I love Orga, and the story was pretty good. Also, the fact that the whole Godzilla chasers, the main characters, they're like tornado chasers, only they're Godzilla chasers or watchers or whatever. I thought that was a very awesome idea, and I think they should bring that kind of story back. I think that would be awesome. Alright, top 5 now. This is like the films that I can't live without with watching Godzilla. So at number 5 we have Godzilla Final Wars. Now I'm gonna get probably a lot of hate or a lot of love with this film. A lot of you guys know that I love Godzilla Final Wars. And I've gotten into some debates and whatever, and I know that this film is split 50-50. You have fans who love it, and you have fans who hate its guts. I mean, there are fans out there that just anything that has to do with this film, they hate it and they write it off. But for me, my opinion, I think it's one of the most funnest, it's one of the best Godzilla films, just because it basically has every Showa cheesy, like funny thing just put out, and it's just like balls to the walls, just nuts, crazy film. I mean, this film is not something, you gotta turn your brain off when you watch this Godzilla film, because if you turn it on, and if you're expecting Godzilla to, like, if you're expecting to have the message of the nuclear thing and all that stuff, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get a dark story tone. You're not going to get anything like that. You're just going to get Godzilla taking out most of his Showa foes, and that's what's really cool. Like, all the Showa monsters basically come back, except for, like, Megalon. Megalon's not in it, which was really disappointing. But there are some bad things about this film. One, the fact that the monster fights are too short. That is one thing. And the characters can be a little bit over the top, but that's why I love it. And my favorite thing about this movie was Don Fry and the alien, the Exilian commander, or the I guess they just call him X, but he's the guy who takes control, and he's just like, oh, I just love him. He's so funny. Oh, anyways, so you see how excited I can get when I talk about this film, but Godzilla Final Wars, for me at least, is definitely one of the best. Number 4, we have Godzilla vs. Biollante, or Biollante, however you want to pronounce her name. Biollante, I think, is one of the most underrated Godzilla films. When I recently watched it for my Godzilla-thon, I just fell in love with the film. Biollante 1 is a very interesting, creative monster. The fact that it's like made from the soul of a human, or, you know, fused with a plant with the G cells, and it's just, I mean, the story was just so good. And the fact, I mean, it's like a direct sequence to 1984. Like, right when this movie begins, it actually does a flashback of 1984, what happened. And then it just goes on to talking about, you know, all these organizations trying to get the G cells and stuff, and it's just fantastic. Oh, everything about this film, awesome. At number 3, these are the top 3 movies that I cannot live without. Number 3 has to go to Gojira, Godzilla King of the Monsters, 1954, the classic, the one that started it all, the most deep, harsh, dark film. It's just this film still gives me chills every time when I watch the intro. I get chills when the music starts playing. I get chills. This film never ceases to amaze me, even though I've seen it so many times. I mean, the characters are so good. Everything about the story, the music, the Godzilla himself, the effects for the 50s were just really awesome. And every time I see the scene where the children go into the hospital because after the attack of Godzilla and the music starts playing, I get teary-eyed. I get so teary-eyed. And then when Godzilla dies from the oxygen destroyer, I get teary-eyed again. And it's just like, this film just, it makes you think. It's a full film. It's not, oh man, it's just an amazing film. Alright, at number 2, we have GMK, or Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, Giant All Monster Out Attack. I think that's what it's. I think that's the title. It's such a long title, but this film was just, oh my god, it is the best Millennium film. You got Godzilla, who is this just badass. He's just evil. This is the most evil Godzilla. See, this is what I wanted Godzilla 2014 to be, but he didn't turn out to be like that. So Godzilla GMK still holds the title for the most evil, sinister, demonic Godzilla. He doesn't even have pupils in his eye. It's just creepy looking. And I mean, this film is awesome. It has such a spiritual tone to it, and I love that. And yes, Mothra's in it, but you know, whatever. Mothra looks actually really cool. This is probably the coolest Mothra design in a Godzilla film. King Ghidorah's back, which is awesome, but King Ghidorah doesn't play as a bad guy. He actually plays as an Earth Defender, which is really interesting. It's a really spin on his origins. And then we have Baragon, which he's not in the title because no one gives a crap about Baragon, but I do. I think Baragon in this movie is the most adorable looking monster ever. I want to have him as a pet. He's just so cute. But sadly, he gets his ass kicked like really easily. But you know, this film is just epic. The music, the soundtrack, it's my favorite soundtrack of the whole Godzilla franchise. GMK, boom, hands down. It's just epic. Definitely deserves to be number 2. Alright, here we go. Number 1. And you guys know what it is. It is The Return of Godzilla, 1984. This film... Now, okay, here's the thing. the reason why this is number one, and I know I've said that I've been watching these movies objectively and all this stuff, but because this is number one, I have to be a little bit biased, and I have to work off a little bit of my, fandom and craziness for this film. 1984 was the first Godzilla film that I watched, and it snapped for me. Like, when I was 2 years old, I believe my dad showed me this film first, or it might have been 1954 first. But when I saw 1984, it snapped. I was like, I love this thing. I love whatever I'm watching. This is awesome. And 1984 got me hooked on the whole series. The suit is my favorite all-time suit. It's the most traditional. It looks like 1954 but modernized. It's the most ferocious. The roar is just, oh my, terrifying. I feel that I love the 1984 roar more than I do the new Godzilla roar. In fact, the new Godzilla roar is actually kind of getting on my nerves because everyone's playing it now. The 1984 roar is so underrated. I love it. It's just, the bass tone that goes with it, and just, it's just amazing. The story is awesome. The character, Raymond Burr reappears in the American version, but Raymond Burr is more of a badass in this one. He actually does something to affect the story. Like, he actually goes in there and he's actually more of a, he just has more purpose than he did in the first film when he showed up. In the first film, he was just kind of there to narrate and just stand there, but in this film, he actually he had a purpose in this film, and it was just awesome. And then this movie introduced the Super X, which is a really awesome thing that fights Godzilla. And then the ending to Godzilla 1984 is the most saddest thing. Godzilla falling in the volcano and the scream he makes. It's the only Godzilla film that I know that Godzilla actually screams in terror and agony while he falls down the volcano to his death. Now, we didn't know that there'd be a sequel after this one, so when I saw this film, to me, Godzilla died, okay? I know that he comes back in Biollante, but I didn't know that. So at the time when I watched this, I cried. I was like, oh my god, Godzilla's dead, and he just fell in a volcano, and he's crying. Oh man, it was just, and the music was just, oh man, so chilling. So yeah, Godzilla The Return of Godzilla 1984, best film in my opinion. Whew. Alright guys, well that is for my top 30 Godzilla films, which is including my 15,000 subscriber celebration video. Thank you guys so much for watching, thank you guys so much for supporting, and it's just awesome. And I'm glad I finally got this list out. I know I've been hinting at it for a while, but there you guys go. Once again, my opinion might change or whatever, but it's my opinion, it may differ from yours. So what I would like to know from you guys, put in the comments of your top 30 Godzilla films. I would love to hear them, and let me know. And I can't believe it, 15,000 subs. It's just, you guys are awesome. So thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, stay big, G fans.